Many people feel that the holidays are the most difficult time of year to exercise consistently because there's so much other stuff going on. And we get it, especially this year, holiday parties galore are happening. But we believe that the holiday season is actually the best time of year to start to exercise. And in today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we want to tell you why that is. We're going to cue the intro song and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Charlie. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to let you know that we recently released a book called The Exercise for Life Method. And if you enjoy the conversations that we have every single week on this podcast, then you are going to love this book. So to pick up a free copy of this book, all you have to do is go to exerciseforlifemethod.com. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we're coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. But even though exercise truly is the single best thing that you can do to build and protect your health, so often during the holidays, it gets neglected. And quite frankly, it gets substituted out for a lot of other activities that deteriorate your health. And not only that, but we continuously tell ourselves the story that there's just no time to exercise during the holidays, that it's so difficult to exercise during the holidays. And so because of that, we don't exercise during the holidays. However, the holidays truly are the best time of year to get your workouts in. And today we want to tell you why.
Charlie, 'tis the season to start exercising.
'Tis the season to start exercising indeed.
I'm serious. You know, the other day, I was talking to one of my clients and she actually had taken a little break. She got COVID. She was recovering from being ill and she came back and she was like, you know, I did think about starting later. And I was like, what do you mean later? Like in January? She's like, but then I realized like if I don't start now, then it's what? Thanksgiving and then I don't start and then it's the holiday parties and I don't start. Then it's actually Christmas and I don't start and then it's New Year's and I don't start. And then my son's getting married and I don't start. Like, when am I going to start? And I was like, that's a good point. Right now is when you start. And she highlighted so many of these holiday things that I kind of think of as macro events, like the big events, like the Thanksgiving, the Christmas, the holiday party. That's a big event. The New Year's Eve and the New Year's Day. You're busy eating the black-eyed peas, you know, and then whatever events that you have coming up in January. And we're still in like the year-long, you know, wedding season because those are huge events and they all got canceled last year. So now they're all, you know, filtered amongst the next couple of years. But also the holidays show a big problem with the micro events, right? These little shopping trips to get, you know, gifts for our kids or making Christmas cookies or wrapping gifts or putting up the Christmas lights. Those are like the little micro things. Or I was thinking about, we're just about to order our Christmas cards for our family. Like, even though you don't think of those as an event, those are pretty time consuming. So there's a lot of time consuming stuff that happens during the holidays. But one thing I know for sure is that I always get one or two clients that start in mid-November. And I always say to them, you know, it's going to be Thanksgiving next week and then it's going to be Christmas. What are we going to do about that? And they always say to me, well, if I don't start now, when am I going to start? And those clients are always the ones that hang around and exercise for the longest. And I love it. They start at what is perceived as the most inconvenient time, and it makes it so that exercise becomes almost the most convenient, mindless thing that they are going to show up for. And it's so important that you do this because if you don't show up, your health is going to suffer.
Julie, I love that your clients bring that up and that they approach their sessions with that mentality. Hey, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to start it? And I think so often the idea is out there that, well, we're just going to wait for the right time. I'm just going to wait until things calm down. I'm just going to wait until there's more time. I'm just going to wait until whatever. But we know that life doesn't work that way. I mean, however old you are, that's how many years of undeniable proof you have that life doesn't work that way. Because everything you told yourself that you would do when there was more time, guess what? When more time comes, what do? We fill it. We fill the time with stuff. And essentially, we just push off the thing that we keep telling ourselves we're going to do when we have more time. And then what happens the next day? We wake up and we have more time. And then we fill it with stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of social commitments. There's a lot of activities. There's travel. There is a lot on our minds as far as, like you were saying, describing the whole process of putting together a Christmas card. Something that you would think would be very simple has like 7 steps to it, and each of them is time consuming. I mean, look, let's be honest. If we could all just take one picture and call it a day, then that would be great. But even the picture aspect takes, 15, 20 minutes. And then you got to edit it and figure out which one you're going to choose and all the stuff that goes along with it, right? Like nothing right now is straightforward. And so if you are telling yourself the story of, well, I'm going to wait until the new year. I'm going to wait until after the holidays. I'm going to wait until it's more convenient. I'm going to wait until fill in the blank. The truth of the matter is, if that's a mindset that you are starting your workouts with, it is going to be really difficult to stay consistent with your workouts if you have that mindset, because inevitably there's always going to be stuff that comes up. And what we want to get you to the place to is where you see yourself as an exerciser, which means you are somebody who exercises consistently regardless of what else is going on.
Charlie, I love that you brought up that last point, that we are exercisers. That's who we are. A couple years back, we interviewed Charlie's brother, Tony, and he talked about operating from the mindset of the person that you wish to be.
Your future self.
Your future self. So if you're thinking, in January, I'm going to just hit it hard. I got my gym membership lined up. I picked up my gym. I already toured it. I already picked up my trainer, but I'm not going to start now. I'm going to start in January. Think about that person, how motivated that person is, how good that person feels, how proud of yourself that person feels, and start making decisions like you're already that person, because secret, you are already that person. You are that person. And so operate from the mindset of I'm already a consistent exerciser. The holidays don't affect me, and make decisions from that viewpoint. That doesn't mean that you're going to get to every single workout in December, but it means that you're going to make the majority of them and you're going to prioritize it. And prioritizing it doesn't mean that you're not going to do the holiday stuff. A lot of people feel like that. Like, man, if I exercised consistently through the holidays, then I'm going to neglect the holidays. And then it's not going to be meaningful for me and my kids. I'm not going to have the family time. Actually, you are. Think about it this way. The last time that you needed something done, maybe you needed to get picked up from the airport, you needed an errand done, you needed someone to look over, an email that you wrote. Who do you ask to do that? Do you ask your friend that does everything last minute, doesn't plan anything, has a very loose schedule, that kind of friend? Or do you ask your friend that is very regimented with their time, very structured, knows their checklist that they have to do every day? Which one do you ask? You actually ask the busier one, the one that has the checklist, the one that has the schedule, because you know that as soon as you're like, hey, could you help me out and, proofread this document that I'm writing for work? They're going to check it out. It's going to go on their to-do list. They'll say, yeah, is it okay if I get back to you in 2 days? That's what you want. You want to have the person that's busier. So be that person. You're on a mission to be the exerciser that you already are and accomplish this challenge of exercising consistently through the holidays. Make decisions from the mindset that you already are consistently exercising. You're already feeling good from the exercise. And while you're busier, it's totally cool. It actually means that you're probably going to get more done. I actually train a woman that's a CPA, and she says, actually, I get more workouts done during our busy season. And if you have any friends that are accountants, they're super busy during this part of the year. And she actually gets more of her workouts done then, because she's like, I literally have 30 minutes. I have to do it now or I'm not doing it. Just like the mindset. If I don't start now, when will I start?
Julie, I love that you brought up the idea of the future self, because it really does come into play here. And I want to piggyback off that and add to the point that not only are you thinking of your workouts from the standpoint of your future self, you're also thinking of all of your holiday activities from the standpoint of your future self. So what does that mean? That means if the future you that you expect to be on January 1 is not only going to be exercising 4 days a week, but is also going to, watch what time they go to bed consistently throughout the week and, kind of be more mindful about what they're eating and try to do some things to manage their stress and everything else that we know we should be doing in order to build our health and be healthy long term, well, then that's the mindset that you also need to approach right now with. All right. It doesn't mean that you don't go to the holiday parties, like you were saying, Julie. It doesn't mean that you don't drink. It doesn't mean that you don't eat all the sweets and treats that are going to be available between now and New Year's. What it means is you have the mindset of, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. And there's a specific purpose for me to do it. And maybe that purpose is just to completely unwind, but I'm not doing it without thought. I'm not doing it without the understanding that, yeah, this is something that I'm going to have to recover from. And that's totally fine. Like, I have nights that I know I'm going to have to recover from this. And that's okay because it's intentional. But what so often people get into the habit of, especially this time of year, is all the thought that goes into it is, well, it's the holidays. So, of course I'm going to be up till 3 a.m. drinking wine and I'm just going to be not able to do anything the next day. And it's like, okay, I don't know if it's the holidays is enough of a reason to consistently justify being up super late or drinking a whole bunch or whatever. It's enough of a reason to celebrate. But if you are thinking from the position of your future self, somebody who's going to exercise consistently, then those thoughts also need to carry over into the actions that you're taking outside of your workouts, because ultimately that's what's going to allow you to consistently get your workouts in.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking January 1, I'm in the gym, that is me, then that same me is ready to start now. I promise you, you are ready to start now. Have you ever started on a workout kick and, I don't know, maybe whatever your goal was, maybe you have a weight loss goal or strength goal or just a feel good goal or accomplish a 5K goal, something like that. And you have a really good experience, like you have a weigh-in and you lost weight. How does that feel? Like after you've done it, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do more. It's amazing. Or, you're training to do a 5K and you finally accomplish 3K. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do more. This is amazing. I'm feeling good. Or you do a workout that just leaves your body feeling energized with a great mood, ready to tackle your day, ready to feel healthy for the day. And after that workout, how do you feel? The same way. Yeah, I feel good. I want to do more. You get the point, right? If you're brand new to exercise and you're thinking about starting in January, starting right now is also a great way to build that momentum of reminding yourself that exercise is amazing for your body. It helps you feel good. It helps you get more consistent, get more motivated for the new year. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you've ever been to the gym in January, it is packed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but around February, mid-February, it ain't packed anymore. What happened to everyone, right? So getting in that routine of saying, I am not a temporary exerciser. I'm not a month and a half out of the 12-month exerciser. I'm a forever exerciser. I'm an exerciser for life, which means you got to keep going. And also, Charlie wrote about this in his book, The Exercise for Life Method, about how when you do healthy habits like exercise, it actually primes your brain to do it more. And so don't feel like, well, if I exercise now, it's going to be a waste because I'm doing all these other things that aren't normal for my life and they cancel out. They don't cancel out. Good news for you. You just get to keep building on them as you enter in the new year and working through the very minor challenges of the crazy holiday schedule is actually really good practice. And it's a really good way for you to build your backbone of practicing being your future self, because when January comes, things come up. You just don't label them as Christmas parties. You just don't label them as, oh, it's New Year's Eve. Other things will pop up, and it's good to already have that practice of, I've got a strong backbone. I am on my mission. I'm my future self, and I'm doing what I got to do, and then I can move on.
Hey, Julie, I really loved that last point that you brought up. And one way that I tend to phrase it, especially I've been doing a lot with my Instagram lives, is this idea of developing your exercise consciousness. And what I mean by that is when you look for opportunities to exercise, you will see opportunities to exercise. But so often we live our days with blinders on thinking, well, there isn't any time to exercise, so I'm not even going to look for time to exercise. And because it's not staring me right in the face, I don't see any time to exercise. So where this comes into play right now is, like we've been saying the whole episode, there's a lot going on. There are a lot of timely things going on that really are, maybe seasonal is a better word. Seasonal things are going on right now that may not carry themselves into January, but we usually end up finding a replacement for them that lasts the rest of the year. So that being said, right now, you have an opportunity to start to look for times throughout your day to exercise. And if you're feeling like, oh, I just don't have any time to exercise, that mindset right there, that will put the blinders on where you won't be able to see the time to exercise. But if you switch the phrase that you're saying and you say, I do have time to exercise today, I just need to find it. And now all of a sudden, you start actively looking for the times to exercise. And the analogy that I like to use with this is, if you've ever thought about purchasing a new car and you look up the car online, you'll be like, oh, this is so cool. I want it in this color, like this gear, this model. I mean, everything. Like this is the trim I want. I've never seen a car like this before. This is so awesome. What ends up happening? Probably on the way to the dealership, you see 3 or 4 of those cars. And you're like, what? Did everybody look up the same car as me and everybody just purchased it right away? No, because it's on your radar now, you start seeing it. Because in your mind, it's a possibility, you start seeing it more, and you see it all the time. It's crazy how this works, where before it was just noise. It was nothing that stood out for you. And so what ends up happening is these times throughout your day that you actually do have an opportunity to exercise, it becomes just noise. It becomes times that aren't standing out to you because you're not actively looking at them as times to exercise. You're not actively looking for times to exercise. You're looking for the gaping 90 minutes in your schedule when you can spend 15 minutes getting yourself ready and another 45 minutes doing your workout and another 30 minutes at the end, showering and eating and all that stuff. That you're not going to find, but you will find time in your schedule if you are looking specifically for time to exercise. And now is a fantastic time of year to practice that and develop and strengthen your exercise consciousness.
Charlie, I want to add something. I just love this exercise consciousness thing. And one of the things you said is, find those spaces in your day that are there that you're just not conscious currently of. But if you develop this conscious, you'll find them. Does anyone listening to this podcast struggle like me to speak up when you need help to solidify a time, right? I find right now, and I'm going to bring this all together. I find right now that if I don't tell Charlie that I'm going to exercise, it's not going to happen, because I'm currently in a season of life, just like right now it's in Christmas season. I'm in a season of life where I have 2 children under the age of 3, and if you guys know about kids, they love their mommy. They just love mommy. And if mommy is not available, then it's a big event. And if mommy is available, then everyone needs to be sitting on my lap or tugging at me or needing me, right? So one thing that I've had to practice as a future selfer is I need to tell Charlie, hey, I'm going to take this 30 minutes. I'm going to cycle and then I'm going to shower. It's going to take me 40 minutes total. And I've had to be okay with sometimes Charlie and the kids are sitting in the recliner watching me ride the cycle bike. I have an audience. Or sometimes that means that my son gets a little hungry by the end and he has to be hungry for about 5 or 10 minutes I plan as much as I can, but it's not going to be perfect. But if I always never plan, then it never gets done. I want to highlight again another thing you said, Charlie. Sometimes we blame the season, right? And season's such a great word because right now it's the holiday season and everyone kind of has this as a community. Like everyone has the holiday season right now. But have you noticed that in your life through the years, you have different seasons, right? Like Charlie and I are in this season of babyness. And we keep waiting for it to like pass or for the rainfall to lighten. And, babies go through these benchmarks of like, at 4 months, they're going to do this thing. At 6 months, they're going to do this thing. At 8 months, they're going to do this thing. And none of that has happened or improved for us. We're still in the phase of waking up every other hour. So every other hour we're up. So we're feeling really full of sleep, as you can tell. But anyways, I keep waiting for this season to pass. And there are parts of me that I notice in myself that I'm still holding on to this hope that the season is going to pass. Because, for example, my first baby, she slept through the night at 4 months. So I was feeling energized. I could get up 30 minutes early, get my workout in, feel awesome. With my son, I still have this glimmer of hope that, things are going to change. And every time it doesn't change, I've also had to come to realization that I have to keep living through this season. I have to keep doing the things that make me take care of me through this season. So it kind of started when my son was born. I didn't really work out because I went through the marathon of labor and delivery, and then I had a newborn. And as much as I felt like the newborn stage was tough, he slept all the time, which was great. I could work out, I could move, whatever. Now we're in the phase of, he's a really tough sleeper, and I can't be putting my health based on his actions, right? So I have to really practice my backbone of, Charlie, I need help. Charlie, you need to watch the kids right now. Charlie, I need to sleep this extra hour so that I have any energy today to work out, So don't blame your season. Look at every season that you're in, and I think every season has its uniqueness, whether it's in stages like I have of like accepting that, hey, I have to learn how to live even with this other human that is very needing of me. But look at the season that you're in. If you find that it's really hard, if it's really easy to find time to work out, still finding time. How am I going to take care of my health through this? How can I find a way to be my future self through this? One thing I like to think of is sometimes when I have some self-talk, like if I'm feeling down or overwhelmed, like, wow, I'm never going to get to work out. I'm never going to get to sleep. I'm never going to get to meal plan or think of healthy foods for my kids. I almost call her my fairy godmother, Julie. And it's like my older, wiser big sister, but Julie. And she's like, but yeah, Julie, you could do this. You could do this. And so it's like my self-talk of like my older, wiser person, my Yoda, like talking to me, but it's really coming from me because it has to come from you. It has to come from your future self. So look at the season that you're in. Maybe it's a community season like we're in now where everyone's celebrating things, holidays. Hanukkah, I know, just wrapped up. Christmas is coming up. New Year's is coming up. Or maybe it's a personalized season where you're going through some mental hardships or family changes, job changes. COVID was a season, right? But looking, how would my wiser future self, my healthier self, my consistent exerciser self guide me right now and try to make the best decisions that you can from that state?
Very well said. Very well said. So if you are looking at the holiday season right now and thinking to yourself, well, I'm just going to wait until this season is over to start exercising, to start taking action on my health, to start doing the things I know I should be doing, we want to strongly encourage you to reconsider and start now. Just because the holiday season will eventually end does not mean that we're going to be season free, because we're going to be right into a new season that brings its own challenges. January comes around, February comes around, and at least in the Chicago area, the talk turns from being too busy because of holidays to being too cold to go outside and being too unhappy because it's always dark out. And I'm not minimizing that at all, but I'm just saying there's always something going on. All right. There's always going to be a season that we're in. And if you truly deep down want to start exercising and take control of your health, then right now, regardless of what season we're in, it is the perfect time to start. And the more consistent you can be with your exercise now, the better and more consistent you will be with your exercise long term, because now arguably is one of the most difficult times of year to start. So start now, despite it being difficult. Start now, despite everything else that's going on. Start to develop your exercise consciousness so when January rolls around, you don't have to get started. You can keep going, you can keep exercising, you can keep being healthy, all from that position of your future self and what your future self would do. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is thinking about exercising, but they want to wait until January to get started? Share this episode with them so they can hear our position on why now truly is the best time of the year to start, despite everything else that is going on. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this podcast when they are looking for information on exercise and when they are looking for information on health. So if you found value in the conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
Trick question, Charlie. Do you have a fairy godmother? Fairy godmother Charlie or fairy godmother Charles?
So how'd you like that episode? Did you find the information useful? If you enjoyed what we discussed today, then you are going to love the Exercise for Life Method, which is a book that we just put out and you can get a free copy of by going to exerciseforlifemethod.com. All we ask is that you pay for shipping and handling, so head there now and get your free copy, as well as some exclusive bonuses that you will get instant access to when you get the book. You can learn more and get your copy at exerciseforlifemethod.com. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.